Guys, if you're new to this channel, welcome here. Even if you're not new, welcome here. I said earlier on in one of my videos that I'll be starting a segment titled Red Flags and Green Flags, and this segment is for the both of us, where I get to share red flags and green flags in different settings, like social setting, perhaps relationship, perhaps adulthood, perhaps parenting. It could be anything. Let's just share our ideas. So I really appreciate if you guys can also leave your red flags in the comment section, your green flags in the comment section, so we can see certain things that we do that come off as rude or red flags that we're not even aware of, and to also see some things that we do or we lack when it comes to green flags and we should do more of or we should start doing. So I already posted the first episode of the red flag and the green flag as well, and it's something that I would love for us to do every month. So out of every 4 weeks of every month, 2 of those weeks would be for red flag and green flag, probably towards the end of the month, or who knows, any time of the month, but 1 week for red flag, the other week for green flag. So yeah, that's about it, but let's get right into today's video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, if you're not new here, there are lots of content and videos for you to binge watch, enjoy, indulge in, get conversant with my content and while you're at it, please give this video a thumbs up, like it if you haven't. Guys, please give me the like, push the like button, hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I make a post. I post on Feeling It once every week, every Fridays 4 p.m. European Standard Time, and I get to share my playlist with you guys, what I've been watching, what I've been listening to. So if you're new here, don't worry, jump on the train and I'm sure you will enjoy the ride. But yeah, let's move right into today's video. So today we're talking about red flags, right? And just a disclaimer before we get into today's video. Red flags never suddenly turn green. So if you see red flag, be it in a relationship, in a social setting, workplace, friendship, family, colleague, it doesn't matter. If you see a red flag, point it out and keep it moving. Any red flag you tolerate will not suddenly turn to a green flag, because one thing I would want to put out there is you can never change someone. Change only begins from that person. You can, no matter what you see, you can never change me if I don't decide to change. But if I want to change, then yeah, we can both work together towards my change. So just a disclaimer, red flags doesn't suddenly turn green. But yeah, so the first on my list would be having an undefined relationship. When someone tells you, you know what, let's go with the flow, let's see where it's headed, or let's just enjoy how it's going. Guys, never ever go with the flow. Undefined relationships are always a huge red flag. That is why sometimes we have situations where someone can be in a relationship with another person, and while in the relationship, situationship, whatever the case may be, you can find out that one of the parties is getting married, one of the parties having a baby, and the other party is like, I thought we had, when there is no resolution, no understanding, no oneness, proper understanding as to what the relationship is or where the relationship is heading, it's a red flag. Especially if you're someone who is dating intentionally, you want to see the future, you want to build a life with this person, possibly a future partner, you're building something serious. It is really, really important when someone tells you, let's just go with the flow. What are you looking for? Guys, actually whether you're looking for a serious relationship or not, when someone tells you to go with the flow, never settle for an undefined relationship. The next would be when the relationship is one-sided. Any relationship, romantic, platonic, colleagues, acquaintances, doesn't matter, should never be one-sided. So when you find a situation where you're the only person giving, you're the only person gifting, you're the only person showing affection, you're the only person trying to build communication, everything, you're the only person doing it, that is a huge red flag. Someone who is interested will be willing to put in the work to want to make it work for the both of you, or want to build something tangible for the both of you. So whatever the situation may be, not necessarily a romantic relationship, anything that is one-sided is a red flag. It's supposed to be a partnership. It's supposed to be both parties. You gift me, I gift you. You take care of me, I take care of you. You show me love, I show you love. So yeah. The next would be lack of trust. When someone shows you that there's no trust, no matter how much you've tried to show them, try to tell them with your actions, with your words, the kind of personality you have, the kind of person you are, and that person seems to have a lack of trust, guys, that is such a huge red flag. Any matured adult that is emotionally intelligent will be able to see a situation where you don't even have to tell me to trust you. I'll be able to trust you by how you carry yourself, your personality, the kind of person you are, your words, your actions, your past. Maybe I've dealt with you in the past before. Perhaps business could be anything. So there are so many ways you can find out if someone is trustworthy or not. So when someone keeps showing that lack of trust, regardless of how much you've shown them that there's nothing to hide, or you have nothing to hide, or there's nothing going on, it's such a red flag. And in as much as I say this, guys, do not give people reasons to not trust you. So yeah, but anyone who keeps showing lack of trust, regardless of what you've shown or how you've proven yourself, red flag. The next would be if you can't be yourself around this person. When you find yourself, when you're with this person, there are certain ways you have to carry yourself. There's a certain way you have to speak. There's a certain way you have to laugh. There's a certain way you have to eat, down to, you can hear some weird takes that, some people even go as far as not being able to urinate in the presence of their partners, I know to each his own, but there are some things that is just so unnecessary. It is such a huge red flag if you're not able to be yourself with someone you consider as your partner or your significant other. Because at the end of the day, having a partner means having someone who you trust fully, that you can be vulnerable enough in the presence. So if you're not vulnerable enough in the presence of someone, guys, it's a red flag. When you cannot be yourself, once you're in the company of that person, the way you behave automatically changes. There are certain rules, there are certain regulations, there are certain things you can do, say, laugh, eat. All of that is a red flag. The next would be, this one is a non-violent red flag. So many people do not really pay attention to it, because most times we tend to think red flags requires violence, but not every time. Sometimes when your partner is sabotaging you or your work, and then they play under the disguise of, you take things serious, because most times when they do something like that and you're trying to speak your mind, they gaslight you into thinking you're doing too much. Anyone who truly loves you will never ever sabotage you or your work, jokingly or not jokingly. So anyone who will go, because there are certain videos you see online where you could tell that peradventure the guy or the girl has taken out their time, spent hours doing a particular thing, and the person in the disguise of joke just comes to scatter everything. It's like, do you know how many hours of work that person has put into? It's not easy to do certain things. So when your partner takes it as a mantle upon themselves, as a joke, to always sabotage you or your work, you have a walking red flag. The next would be, this is also non-violence. When people drain you with arguments and fights, they can also drain you with lack of communication, lack of trust, lack of empathy, lack of apologizing, lack of acknowledgement, and lack of fulfilling your love language. So guys, it doesn't always have to be violent. It doesn't always have to be an argument. It doesn't always have to be a confrontation. Sometimes denying you certain things like trust, acknowledgement, love, all of these things, walking red flag, guys. Let me read it once more. They can drain you with arguments and fights, drain you with lack of communication, lack of trust, lack of empathy, lack of apologizing, and lack of fulfilling your love language. Don't let anyone gaslight you into telling you, you know what, I don't understand this way, or I cannot do things this way. Even if you've told that person that is your love language, you have to be loved in your own love language, not how the other person wants to do it. Because I expect that you would also love the other person the way they want to be loved, not how you want to love them. So yeah. Another thing would be, it's a red flag when they repeatedly disrespect you. Guys, sometimes people can be so manipulatively smart, if there's any word like that, where people can be disrespecting you, and if you're not really paying attention, you will not even recognize the disrespect. So sometimes they will also play it as a form of joke, or you're just too serious, you take things too serious. Never ever let anyone make you feel like you take things too serious, especially when it comes to boundaries, things like this. It is really important to recognize it as a red flag and keep it moving, guys. Red flags doesn't suddenly turn green. The next would be, it is a red flag when they always want you to be the bigger person. I know we've all been taught right from when we were kids that you always have to be the bigger person. When I and someone else is in a misunderstanding, people will come to me and tell me, oh, you have to be the bigger person. People will go to that person and tell them, you have to be the bigger person. Guys, I am here to tell you that you don't always have to be the bigger person, because there are certain people that will always thrive on that, waiting for you to always be the bigger person. You were not born or put in this earth to always be the bigger person. Another red flag in regards to this being a bigger person is when they make you feel like you're holding resentment against them because you're sticking to your boundaries. I am sure if you've experienced someone like that, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. When you're being strict on your boundaries and they are making it feel like you're just being resentful towards them, guys, it is such a huge red flag. You have boundaries for a reason. Boundaries are in place for a reason. So don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking, it was just this. Why are you so angry? You hold so much resentment against me because you will not let me do this. Guys, human beings can be very, very, very tricky. So if you're not standing up for yourself, if you're not paying attention to things you need to pay attention to, certain things you will let fly by, you disrespect and so many things that with time you might think you're the issue, or you just don't understand people. Sometimes it's very good to be very mindful, cautious in how you're dealing with people, so you can really see people for who they are, because guys, human beings are human beings. Another red flag is when they give you all the right words, but their words do not match their actions. Action speaks louder than words. I know we've all heard this. But guys, anyone who is always telling you, I will do this, and the kind of person to do this, I already promised you I was going to, and it's not matching with their actions, it's such a red flag, because people can talk. I can sit down here and promise you guys that I will post videos twice every week or even every day of the week. It's one thing for you to believe it, it's another thing for me to do it. But it's very, very normal and okay for me to keep telling you guys that this is what I'll do, this is what I'll do, even though my actions are not matching my words. So it is very important for your actions to match your words. If you say you're a consistent person, let us see the consistency. If you say you're someone who is persistent, let's see the persistence. If you're a disciplined person, let's see the discipline. So guys, anyone whose words is not matching their actions, especially as your partner, huge red flag. Another would be, it's a red flag when they focus on your reaction instead of their disrespect or whatever they might have done. Guys, it is very important to understand how people behave and certain subliminal ways in which people can show aggression, show disrespect without you noticing it if you're not paying so much attention. So guys, when you find people who are more into why would you talk to me like that, or why would you react like that, without understanding that you reacted because of what was said or reacted because of what was done, so they automatically have partial amnesia, or will I say selective amnesia. They cannot remember what they did, they can only remember your reaction, and then at some point it leaves you thinking or leaves you feeling like you're the mad person or you're the crazy one, because this person is not seeing the action, they are skipping the action and just going to your own reaction. People who treat you like that, guys, walking red flag, huge red flag. No one should be able to gaslight you into focusing on your reaction and not the disrespect or what was done. Another red flag is when they focus on your trust issues with them instead of their betrayal. And this especially comes when someone has cheated in the relationship. Guys, human beings are human beings. Human beings are always human beings, if there's any word like that. So someone could break your heart, shatter your heart into pieces, and the only thing they are more concerned on is your reaction to their betrayal, not what caused the reaction, but the reaction itself. It still falls under people reacting to your reaction and not the disrespect. So guys, if anyone has broken your trust, it is one thing if you decide to say. For me, when it comes to relationship, I would advise you, if anyone destroys your trust, please keep it moving. And if you cannot keep it moving, they keep gaslighting you into thinking you're the one with the problem, It's been 2 months, how come you're not over it, They will always say subliminal things that will make you feel like the crazy one, even though they're the ones who put you guys in that situation. It now turns out to be something that you're the one making the situation bigger than it should be, or you're now the one with the issue, instead of recognizing what they've done. So if you have a partner like that, guys, red walking flag. I would say you should leave the relationship, but then again, the choice, the decision is all yours. And this day and age, you can talk and talk all you want. People still do what works for them. Do what works for you. But if you find anyone who has betrayed your trust and they are more focused on your trust issues with them than the betrayer, walking red flag, especially when it comes to cheating. They just want you to get over it. It was not that serious. There was no emotions involved. There was no red flag. The next would be, it's a red flag when they disappear from your rock bottom only to show up on your mountain top. Guys, anyone who is not willing to be with you in your down times, understandably that everyone has their life to live, everyone is dealing with one thing or the other. But if you're very important to me, I should be able to take out time from my life to be able to support you, be there for you, show up for you. So if you find someone who is not able to do that, and when you've been able to pull yourself out of that dark place, suddenly they are now wanting to be there and even wanting to go as far as enjoying, sharing in your wins, guys, such a red flag. It is not easy to bring yourself out of any rock bottom, be it mentally, be it financially, whatever the case may be. When someone is not there during your dark hours, they don't deserve to share in your light. So those people or people like that, walking red flag. Having someone like that as a partner is even so crazy. The next would be, it is a red flag when they repeatedly trigger your mental health and then blame you on your negative reaction. As we all know, there are so many people who are dealing with one mental issue or the other. So when you find someone, because I am expecting that when you call someone your partner, they should be aware that you're dealing or you're struggling with some mental health issues, and they keep trying to trigger you and then get angry or upset for a negative reaction, I feel like that's not being fair on you, and you're not being fair on yourself in a way as well by letting yourself be in such a situation. Anyone who is not there, and this is not me saying you have to be with someone that massages your mental state or has to be you're all in all, or has to bend backward for you. That is not the point. But someone who is not empathic enough, who is not understanding enough to know the boundaries, know what to say, and how to interact with you in a healthy way that would benefit you and not trigger you or push you more into where you're trying to come out from. That is a red flag. Anyone you be with, your partner or someone who you call your partner, should be someone who is even more interested in helping your mental health and not triggering your mental health and then getting angry for your negative reaction. Another red flag would be when they say, after all I've done for you, to guilt trip you, control you, or make you prove your worth. Guys, I've had someone in my life that would tell me, because of what they do for me, I'm not supposed to get angry or upset when they do certain things. That was one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever heard on planet Earth, guys. A huge red flag. Thankfully, that person is no longer in my life. That's why I say, guys, recognize the red flag. You can even try to point the person to the red flag, but keep it moving. Red flags do not suddenly turn green. So yeah, when you find someone who tells you things like, after all I've done for you, always wanting you to prove your words, guys, it is a red flag. And you should understand that there are so many amazing humans on planet Earth. That is not how people behave. That is not the right or appropriate thing a partner should tell you. That is very somewhat abusive in a way. That's where you hear things like financial abuse. When someone, especially let's say in relationships where one person is earning more than the other person, or it's just one person that is earning, you can hear statements like this, things like this, always wanting you to prove your worth, because after all, you're not the one doing anything when it comes to finance and all of that. So yeah, do not let anyone always want you to prove your worth. And this is why I'm always a firm believer in preaching that everyone should have their money. It's not about gender war. It's not about gender rules. As a human being, it is just important for you to have your money. So you are not entitled or obliged to prove your worth to anyone, or having people tell you certain things like, after all I've done for you, or because of certain things I do for you, you shouldn't be able to have a voice. In any circumstance, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're popular, whether you're not popular, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're not a celebrity, you should always have a voice. The next thing would be, it is a red flag when they say it's okay and later throw it in your face. Guys, in as much as I've been saying, if this person is your partner, is someone you should be vulnerable around and all of that, still there are some people who are not fortunate enough to choose good partners for themselves. So it is very important to choose someone who you can be vulnerable with, someone who is understanding, someone who is empathic, someone who is kind, so that in instances like this you can be vulnerable without the fear of, once you have a misunderstanding, they throw it in your face. And should you find anyone doing that, not even in a relationship, in your life, that person is such a red flag. Because when is the next argument? Would you tell me in the next argument, or would you say negative things to me after the next two arguments? You never know when it's going to come or what can possibly come out of their mouths, and it puts you in that place where you're like, should I tell this person this thing? Oh no, I should tell them just this part, I shouldn't tell them this part. Whereas when it comes to do with a healthy relationship, it should be a case where you can tell your partner any and everything without feeling ashamed or having that fear that they might use it against you sometimes. So guys, in as much as we say all these red flags, it's really important to pay attention to the kind of people we make partners or the kind of people we have as partners, and to be able to recognize these red flags, understanding that they are red flags. Because sometimes, I know we are quick to judge people, you should have done better, you should have chosen better and all of that. Sometimes people do not just know, due to socioeconomic status, their background, the communities they came from and all of that. So yeah, let's just try to educate one another so more people can be able to come across things like this and be able to recognize it, for people who are not aware. Because there are some people that, in as much as it causes them pain and all of that, they are still not sure 100%, is this the right thing, is this how other people experience it and all of that. So yeah, sometimes we need to say things like this so that people who are not aware, not to talk of knowing is a red flag, acknowledging that it's a red flag or recognizing that this is a red flag is the first step before even thinking of, okay, I should leave this person or should we work on it. And I keep saying working on it because I know that at the end of the day, we are all not the same. There are some people that will leave you, and there are others who will point you to it and try to help you work on it. But guys, any red flag, especially in a relationship, if you recognize a red flag, please keep it moving, except if you've brought it to this person's attention and they are willing to change. Because like I said, you can never change anyone, regardless of how special you think you are. You cannot change anyone who is not willing to change. Change starts from me. Before I will want to change the world, I have to start from myself. So if that person is not willing to change, you cannot change that person. So when you see a red flag, you recognize it. It is up to you to keep it moving. Because as I said in the beginning of the video, red flags do not suddenly turn green. And then our last red flag would be abuse. Abuse, of course, any form of abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse. There are so many types of abuse. Any kind of abuse is a red flag. From the mild ones to the overtly obvious ones, any form of abuse is a red flag. And guys, I will say this once more. People are so smart. Human being is so smart. The human mind, the human as a being is very smart. There are some things and ways people will treat you, talk to you, that if you're not paying attention, certain things will pass. They can gaslight you. That is where gaslighting, manipulation comes into, because you're not paying attention to these things. Sometimes people can come under the disguise. In fact, there are sometimes that people can compliment me, but the compliment is by insulting women. For example, telling me, oh, for example, I'm special, I'm different, unlike other women. Now you can see that and take it out, oh, that's a compliment. But then again, you have to remember and structure your mind and your mindset that a compliment should be a compliment. No compliment should come out of putting down another person for your sake. So sometimes people can be so subliminal in their words, in their actions, in the way they do things. So it is very important to be very mindful, pay attention. Do not just, in as much as they say actions speak louder than words, that is also very good when it comes to body language. Listen to what people are saying. Look out at what their body is saying, because most times your body will not lie. If I'm very upset right now, no matter how I'm talking to you, in a way, except I try all my possible best to subdue the urge of anger. You can tell from my body, from the way my posture is, my voice and all of that. If I'm very happy, you can be able to tell, because I could be so jovial, talking, smiling, maybe smiling more than usual and all of that. So guys, in as much as we see recognize red flags, sometimes red flags will not come within your face that, oh, this is a red flag. Sometimes if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't even recognize that that's a red flag. Someone could say something so easily, listen to it and you're like, that's nice, until you really think about it. You're like, okay, hold on now, wait a minute. So yeah, in as much as we're saying recognize these red flags, it's also important to pay attention to human beings, because humans, there is no limit or there's no end to how manipulative, how smart, how insulting they can be sometimes, especially when it has to do with vulnerable people. And that is why they mostly make vulnerable people their victims. So it is very important to spread the word so that people who are not aware can be able to know and recognize certain things that they've gone through or they are going through, that is a red flag, and help each and every one of us in any way we can. But yes guys, let's move into what I've been watching this week. So what have I been watching this week? The first on my list will be Adolescence. I think I spoke about this 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. I eventually finished it, and I would say, aside the acting, of which I said was impeccable, they brought life to the series, especially the boy actor. He's such a phenomenal actor. But one thing I'll say I appreciate about this series is the fact that they were able to give us the perspective of the family in a way that they are still victims. I always, honestly speaking, I always used to wonder, especially when it comes to maybe serial killers, someone who murdered someone, different cases that leads to people being in prison or people being jailed. You tend to think about their family members, and we as a society also really need to do better, because most times we tend to say, that's a family of murderers, that's a lineage of murderers, without understanding that was the action of one person. It is possible that the remaining are also victims of that crime, in the sense that they get to lose a family member as well, and also being casted out or chastised out of the society. So it is really, really insightful to see the perspective of the family members, how they are being ridiculed by the society. No one wants to associate with them. Parents will tell their children not to associate with your children again. No one wants to be friends with the sister of a murderer. No one wants to be friends with the brother of a murderer, and all of that just gives you a different perspective that actually, when you think about it, in this Adolescence, for example, what did the sister do? Her only fault was she came from that family and she happened to be his sister. It could have been anyone. It could have been you. It could have been I. It could just be anyone, So sometimes I feel like we should show grace or empathy, kindness, understanding to the family of convicted inmates or convicted felons, regardless of the crimes. And yes, understandable that sometimes the family can be shady, or the families can have some sort of hand in how the events played out, understandably. But in certain cases, because there's never a generalization in anything, so in cases like this, it is good and important for the society to understand that they are innocent as well. And another thing that struck me was when the mom said they feel like they need to take some of the blame because he has always been angry. He took after anger from his dad. Perhaps they should have checked in with the anger. Perhaps they should have cautioned him and all of that. And this is just me personally speaking. I feel like sometimes parents are just not paying so much attention. Certain things that with the right or proper understanding, you'll be able to be like, okay, it's good to start questioning this from this time before it becomes something serious. And no one is thinking of their child becoming a serial killer. This has nothing to do with your child becoming a murderer or anything. Just stopping whatever it is before it turns into a bigger situation is better. So in that aspect, when she made that statement, I was like, okay, perhaps because there was a time where he was talking to one of the child psychologists, and his reaction was just so shocking, and it now gives you a better understanding as to why he reacted the way he did. You can understand that, okay, this is a child with anger issues. I just appreciate the fact that we're able to see a perspective, a different perspective, not always about the perpetrator, but their family as well. But yeah, the next I've been watching will be The House of David. Of course, I'm still watching The House of David. Finally, we got into the part where David is to face Goliath. If you're not watching it, give it a watch. It's on Prime TV. I'm watching it on Prime TV, so you can find it on Prime TV or Flickstore or any streaming platforms. And then the next on my list would be The Chosen. This is a series I still watching, and this has to do with the story of Jesus Christ of Nazareth from the Bible, inspired by the life of Jesus Christ. And it is really, really, really insightful because it just shifted my perspective. I know we've always heard the story of Jesus was a man just like you and I. Man, I mean, I'm referring to both men and women. He's a man just like you and I. His disciples were just like you and I, who were just going about their life. It's possible that some were gambling. It's possible that some even were doing different, fishing, doing just whatever it is that they are doing with their life before they became disciples. And you see Jesus as a human being just like you, with the same thought just like you, so it's really, really insightful, because sometimes I feel like you need to see the picture to be able to understand better, if that makes sense. So for me, it's really, really insightful because it just opens you to the fact that the disciples are just like you and I, just that they went out of their way to study the scriptures, so want to know God better and all of that. So if you're from the Christian community or you're someone who is interested in the story of Jesus, it is a really, really good series. And mind you, I must say, on the site I'm watching it, that is Flickstore, that is one of the highest rated series I've ever seen on the site. Lastly, I thought it was Severance by 9.1, but this one is going by 9.5 over 10. So it is really, really interesting, and I just started watching it. It has 4 seasons, but I'm still currently on season 1, and so far it is really, really been insightful. You get to see so many things, so many details that you didn't even know existed or you didn't even know happened. But yeah, just give it a watch, you're not going to regret it. And the last on the list would be The Real Housewives of Potomac. These women, guys, it is such an entertaining TV series or reality TV series. It is so drama packed, and I said I live for the drama. Obviously, that's why I watch reality TV. But if you're not giving Housewives of Potomac a watch, please give it a watch. Let me know your thoughts. And I would say one character that really, really fascinates me, that amuses me, would be Giselle. For the love of me, I don't understand. I don't understand that lady Giselle. She's such a character. Karen as well is someone that is, guys, every one of them just has one drama or the other. The only thing I can say is just drama. Just give The Real Housewives of Potomac a watch and let me know your thoughts. We have a new character now. She's Monique. Like I said from the beginning, so me, I'm just on season 2 in case you're someone who is following the current season. And I think they finished the current season already because I saw the reunion, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm still on season 2. So there's a new character called Monique. That is also a very fascinating character, guys. When people come to see us at the lake house, in few minutes, I understand when people say they are not trying to brag, but sometimes some informations are just so unnecessary. She will not just say house, she has to make it a lake house. Oh no, they have 4 homes. She's so happy when someone is going through moving out of a house to a different house. It's like from something very extravagant to something just okay. She goes on to say, she's very happy because she's fortunate enough to still retain her house while she can move, and she will just wait. It's just, I know I'm just rambling, but give it a watch. Characters like this is just, we get it, you're very rich. We get it, you're very, 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 very rich. But then again, it's not necessary, especially if you're in a circle of people that have touched money, are still touching money and living in money. So yeah, that's it for this week. But what have I been listening though? I can't really say for certain this and this because I've been listening to songs so much for the past 2 weeks. So I've really, really been listening to a lot of songs. So just check out my playlist, which is Victoria's playlist. In case you're new on my channel, I do have music playlist site, Victoria's playlist, where I have African songs from Ghana, South Africa, Nigeria, Tanzania, all of that. Just give it a listing. And then I have another titled V Blues, that's for international jams, where we have the Beyonce, the Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, all of that. give it a listen. And then, as I said earlier or last week, I said I'm trying to accumulate a gospel playlist. In case you're like, you know what, you're not interested in Victoria's playlist or V blues, don't worry, that will also be made public very, very soon. Possibly next week or next 2 weeks from now, I'm not so sure, but yeah. But yes, guys, let's move into our quote for this week. What's our quote for this week? So guys, our quote for this week would be, your ultimate success is governed by your ability to tolerate the uncertainty on the path to get there. The one who can tolerate the most uncertainty is the one who will eventually win. Uncertainty isn't a sign to stop. It's an invitation to grow. Those who succeed aren't the ones who avoid it, but the ones who learn to navigate it with trust, adaptability, and resilience. The more you embrace the unknown, the more possibilities you create. Keep moving forward. So yeah, guys, that's the message for this week. Keep moving forward. Pause if you must, but don't stop. And yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Please don't forget to like this video if you haven't. Give it a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I make a post. Share this video with your friends, with your loved ones, on your social media platforms if you're feeling generous, and tag me. I'm going to leave all my social media platforms on Instagram, on TikTok, on Snapchat. Catch me there and see what more I am doing on different social media platforms. And thank you guys so much for watching and for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week.